Good morning, good morning, good morning, and thank you for joining us for this segment of the After Parties, Me, the Jury. We will be talking about this case, the strange case of Alicia Andrews. I don't know if it's strange, but it's strange to me and senseless. But here we are. We're going to focus on this, and I'm going to give you the backstory. I'm going to tell you all things that happened this week during trial, and we're going to follow this case together. Okay, so we're going to get started. Just good morning, Lincoln. Good morning. I was just about to begin and start giving you guys the backstory of the Alicia Andrews case. Julio Foolio was a Jacksonville rapper who had been at the center of the ongoing feuds between rival gangs. He was killed last year while celebrating his birthday in Tampa, Florida. Detectives say that Alicia Andrews and her boyfriend Isaiah Chance acted as lookouts the night that Julio Foolio was unalive. His real name is Charles Jones. They say that he was ambushed and unalived outside of a Tampa hotel near the USF campus last summer. Here's a photo of Alicia. Now, the reason why I chose this photo is because there has been much to do about whether or not she's acting guilty. She seems guilty. And so the media made a really big deal about the fact that she was putting on makeup in the courtroom prior to the jury entering the courtroom. For me, it's much ado about nothing. I don't think that's really a big deal. What you guys tell me what you think. I don't think it's a big deal because she's a young woman, 21 years old. Their looks are very important to them. She knows that this is going to be televised. Because she's in prison right now, she shouldn't want to look her best. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, right? That whole thought that she can't want to look nice. She's going to be before the cameras, but the media chose to make this a moment. They've been talking a lot about the fact that she giggles and laughs during the trial when she's speaking with her attorneys and such, which again, I don't get the controversy in that. She's talking to her attorneys. You don't even know what they're saying, but you're mad. Um, really quickly, make sure that you hit that like button while we're here so that everybody knows that you like being here with me on Saturday mornings. Thank you so much for being with me up on a Saturday morning. According to the investigators in this case, um, authorities believe that Andrews helped track and surveil the rapper as he moved between the Tampa nightclubs because she was not a part of her boyfriend's gang. Okay. Detectives say that she used her cell phone and car to try to help them to avoid detection. They're saying that the phone data shows that it was tracked from Jacksonville, which is her hometown, to Tampa. And there was no other stops indicating that they were in Tampa for nothing else but the unaliving of Julio Foolio or Charles Jones. And this happened in June last year in 2024. Now, that's what they allege.
This is a law that you heard a little bit about. You'll be instructed
She's
on it
being
at the end of
charged
this
as
case
a
after the evidence is given to you by the Honorable Judge Sisko. She will instruct you on the law of principles as well as the law on murder and all the other laws that you will need to render your verdict in this case. The law of principles, if a defendant helps another person to commit or attempt to commit a crime, that defendant is a principal and must be treated as if they had done all the things that the other person or persons did if we prove this beyond a reasonable doubt that they first.
You hear that? She is being looked at as a principal in this case, which means that she did not have to actually commit the act. All she had to do was to help them to carry out the act, and then she can be charged with all the same charges that the others are being charged with. That's really important in this case.
Intended that the crime occur and did some act or said something, anything, that was intended to and that did incite their co-defendants to commit this murder, cause them to, simply encourage them to, assist them or advise other persons to actually commit that crime. Now, incite, cause, encourage, assist, or advise the other person to actually commit or commit the crime. For first-degree premeditated murder, we must prove that this defendant intended that Charles Jones be killed. It is not necessary for the principal to know every detail of how a first-degree murder will be committed as long as they intend that it occur. And they did some act or said something that was intended to help or did help the murder to occur. But almost more importantly, the principal, the defendant, does not have to be present when the crime is committed or attempted to be committed. But in this case, folks, you will hear that this defendant, Alicia Andrews, was right there, driving right next to that Dodge Charger in the seconds before this murder happened.
They say she was right there, that she participated in following and tracking down this victim in this case. They say that she was a willing participant. She knew what was going on. And so here they show her car.
On the attack, on the Charger,
right
on
there,
the attack.
That Chevy Cruze riding
Mr. Jones
off the screen.
You'll see the Chevy Cruze go southbound on McKinley.
If you're an illegal alien,
That's
this
her
runway
vehicle right there, riding right past the victim's vehicle in this case. She is seen driving past there, and actually she does like a circle, a loop, if you will. And so they are saying this further proves that she was right there, a willing participant, tracking down Mr. Jones on the night in question. And the next video I'm going to show you, it is going to show the actual attack in real time. It's not too graphic, but I just want to warn you that this is a video of the actual attack.
Down to the lower left, you saw the shooter with the automatic Glock.
This is a different angle.
That's him in the lower part of the photo. So you see in this video, Xavier Edwards desperately trying to get them out of harm's way.
They were trying to pull away from the attack. The problem is that the attackers were right there in that little area where you see the pebbles and stones in the trees. And then at the top of the screen, you see a white car kind of behind that tree. They also had attackers coming from that direction as well. So when he made that turn, they were coming at him from both angles. And he really just didn't stand a chance, unfortunately. He just really didn't. And later, once they start doing their investigation of this case, they start tracking down some individuals of interest. And one of Alicia's co-defendants, if you will, was a friend of her boyfriend's and is in a gang, and his name is Sean Gaithright. Sean, they found out, was basically the weapons guy. This is what they're calling him. This is what they allege. They say that when they searched his home, this is what they found.
And they end up searching that Forerunner. And inside of the Forerunner, they find several items: Glock magazines, a Glock extended magazine, components for AR-15 rifles.
Yes, I apologize. They first pulled over Sean, and they found these things in his SUV at the time that they pulled him over. And then they searched his home and found other things. So we're going to start with this.
For AR-15 rifles, including a brace, magazine holders, ammunition, and a box full of empty .223 and 5.56 shell casings. Now, you're going to hear in the evidence, if you're not already aware of this, that a 5.56 rifle, an AR rifle, can shoot .223 ammunition. They're almost interchangeable. And there's multiple empty casings in this box. They also find these two boxes, each containing 50 rounds of 9mm ammunition. Max Tech. On the top of the cartridge casings, on the head stamp, where the primer is MXT for Max Tech. That is the exact same ammunition as the 9mm shell casings found in the crime scene. All of those shell casings found, and there was 31 of them found outside of the home to suites. They're all Max Tech, all the same ammunition, the same as these is ammunition found in Mr. Gaithright's vehicle. And I'll come back to that. These shell casings, .223, 5.56, those shell casings are later provided to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, which is a statewide agency here in the state of Florida that maintains crime laboratories throughout the state. We have one right here, a regional laboratory here in Tampa, and there's one in Jacksonville, and they're both involved in this case. And they are submitted to the firearms section, to firearms analysts who analyze those shell casings, comparing them to the shell casings from the October 7th attack on Charles Jones, where he was shot in the leg. And they are fired from the same weapon. The analyst will tell you they were fired from the same weapon. She will tell you that was shell casings. She examines them microscopically and compares them and looks at markings that are left on the shell casings, markings that are left by the breech face of the gun, by the extractor ejector.
So what they're saying in this instance is that there was a previous attack on Julio Foolio that was unsuccessful. And they're saying or alleging that this is the same weapon used in both attacks, which is not good for Sean Gaithright at all. But also in his home, once they did search his home, this is what they found. And I found this to be very interesting. I don't understand it at all. And I hope maybe one of you out there in weapons world will be able to explain to me why he would do this, okay?
After this murder, and one of the things they find in the sink in water is all this torn up packaging. And when they start looking at the packaging, it's all firearm related. That is a 6 Alfa Romeo 05 package. These are Magpul, which is a firearms manufacturer of components for AR-15 rifles, also manufacturer of.
Good morning, Trent. So I have not been able to wrap my head around why you would take the packaging from the weapons, tear them up, soak them in water, and just leave them sitting in water. I don't know what type of evidence you're trying to destroy by doing this. It doesn't make any kind of sense to me. I hope somebody will be able to explain to me why this is necessary. But this is what he chose to do. And again, this is Sean Gaithright. He is one of the other co-defendants in this trial. So Alicia has 4 co-defendants. Her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance, Sean Gaithright, Davion Murphy, and Rashad Murphy. Those guys are all gang members or alleged to be in gangs. She is not. She is the girlfriend of Isaiah Chance. And it's important to note that she is being tried first because she exercised her right to a speedy trial, because at the time of her arrest, she was pregnant. And she had the baby in January and has not been able to be with or spend time bonding with her child. And she's really trying to clear her name to get out, to be able to have an opportunity to be with the baby. Also, I want to tell you guys at this moment that there was a rumor that the state had offered her a deal that she turned down. And her attorneys went on a press tour, child, in the last couple of weeks and said that is untrue. They never offered her any deal, okay? Also, I'm going to play this clip for you because Isaiah Chance's street name is Gutta. And it's much talked about that. First of all, Alicia and her friends and family say that he was abusive to her. And the judge is not going to allow that testimony to come in this trial unless Alicia testifies herself. So they can't just get up there and start saying he was abusive and this and that, or even bring any witnesses that can testify to it unless she testifies herself. So if she is trying to say that the reason why she went along with any of this is because she was scared and she was abused, she won't be able to do that unless she takes the stand. And as you all know, it's very, very risky to do that. And the reason why I mentioned his street name is because when she was arrested and they were questioning her, they was calling him by his street name, Gutta. And she kept saying, well, they allege that she kept saying, why are you calling him that? As if she had never heard this name before. So I'm about to play this clip of the prosecutor explaining what they allege.
This is the defendant. This is Miss Andrews.
She looked totally different now, doesn't she?
In the interview with the officers, in the very beginning of the interview, The officers are asking her about Isaiah Chance, her boyfriend. Isaiah Chance's street name, gang name, and social media name is Gutta, or Gutta Man, Gudda. And they're calling him Gutta. And this is the defendant's response.
Why he gotta say gutter like that? Gutter. Every time I hear him say it, that just tickles me.
Response in the interview. Why are you calling him that? Why are you calling him Gutta? Like, you're idiots. Why are you calling him Gutta? Saying those words.
Okay, again, Mr. Harmon, just keep your statements as far as Pardon me?
So the defense is objecting. This is opening statements. And in opening statements, nothing that they say is evidence in the case. And so basically they're telling their colorful story of what they allege happened and what they believe their evidence will prove. So they can take a little bit of liberties in the closing and opening statements, right? And so, make it a little more colorful, a little more entertaining, grab your attention kind of thing. They can't just outright lie, but they can put a spin on it, if you will. It is up to the jury to really examine the evidence that is put before them and decide if it's true evidence or not. The reason why the defense is objecting right now is because they say that is not what she said, and the evidence will prove that isn't what she said. They allege that what she actually said was, why are you calling him Gutta? That's just a stage name. Not that she didn't know that was his name or that anybody called him that. She's saying, why are you referring to him as his stage name? Like, whatever. So that is what she's saying. She also said that she wasn't all that involved in the fact that he was in a gang. She had heard he was in a gang, but according to her, like, that wasn't something they talked about, which I kind of think if my man was in a gang, I would hope that even if he told me, I would think, or even if I suspected he was, I would think that, or I would hope that he would protect me and not talk about his illegal activities to me. I hope. But
That's a misstatement of the evidence.
Okay, well, when the jury, again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as I told you, what the attorneys say in the opening statement is not the evidence, and you're not to consider it as such. They're just telling you what they believe the evidence will be. You will be the ultimate decision makers regarding the evidence and any weight that it carries, okay? All right, go ahead.
The evidence will show that as those words are leaving her lips, tattooed on her body, underneath her clothes, is the name Gutta. Not only on her chest, but on her neck.
I mean, yikes. This week, she looks so unconcerned. Okay, so let me tell you about that. I'm so glad you brought that up, Lincoln. This is all everyone has in the media has been talking about. Whether or not she looks concerned, whether she looks guilty. They made a big deal about her getting her makeup done the morning before their first trial. Remember that these people in prison, they not given makeup and such. And so, she knows she's going to be on television, that this is televised. So, I don't think it's such a big deal. She's a young woman, and, she's hoping that she has much life to live after this. Perhaps she just want to look pretty. Listen, I don't know. That's not a big deal for me. But I do realize that many people have been making such a big deal about those kind of things. Her being kind of giggly with her attorneys and stuff like that. People are so bothered by. And again, her attorneys went on this whole press tour for the last couple of weeks. They were on podcasts, on news channels, and just basically saying they felt like they had to come to the media because so many things were being said about their client that was not true. And they wanted to explain some of the smiling and all of that. I don't know if it helped or hurt their client. I mean, that remains to be seen. I mean, saying that she's just a smiley person, that's just a part of her personality. I don't know if that helps because the jury isn't going to be able to hear any of those interviews prior to this trial. They only get to see her sitting at that counselor's desk with her attorneys, laughing and smiling and, playing in her hair and all of those things. And so it's, I mean, I would be telling my client, remember, these people are watching you. And so a lot of times jurors are human, right? If they don't like you, that's not good for you. So maybe you don't want to be acting all vain. Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you want to be acting a little more concerned, showing a little more remorse or something. But we shall see if it affects anything at all. We just don't know yet. The other thing I wanted to make sure that I brought up is the fact that the co-defendants, they are being tried next year. They think in the spring of next year. Um, and they are all being charged or tried separately, but together. It looks suspicious. So let's talk about some of the testimony that we have gotten through the first 3 days. They first brought in several witnesses that was in Tampa that weekend for Julio Foolio's birthday party. He had rented an Airbnb and had a party, if you will, at this Airbnb, or they were pre-gaming. That's what we call it. And so a bunch of his friends had gotten together there at the Airbnb. They got music and drinks. They having a good time. He's live streaming the whole thing. He had put out flyers saying, "This is my official birthday party. This is where I'm going to be." And that means that everybody on social media knew where he was going to be. All those gang members that didn't like him or had beef with him, they all knew where he would be. I think all of that is kind of interesting too, because like, how do you balance all of this? You know, you're in a gang, you're doing all this drill rap where you're insulting people, you're doing videos on their graves and all kinds of disrespectful things. You and your rival gangs are going back and forth on social media, but then you let them know where you're going to be. That's wild work to me. I don't really understand it. I personally wouldn't want people to be able to track my every location. That's why I used to, let me tell you something. Back in the day, I used to, when Facebook first became popular for me, I used to post what I was going to be doing that night, where I was going to be going. And random friends of mine or associates would just pop up because that's where I said I was going to be. I kind of stopped doing that because I realized I don't want to party with all of these people. Yes, I know, Lincoln. I mean, y'all know how I do. So every once in a while, a song might come out of me. But yeah, so it's probably not the best idea to post your every movement if you got enemies and beef. Like that's probably don't want to do that. But who am I? What do I know? Um, and so anyway, exactly, Trent. It's like it's one of those things you damned if you do. I mean, cause like I have friends that have events and they want you to publicize it for them and they want you to bring more people. But then I'm always like, but do I want everybody to come? Or, am I going to send this out privately? You got to kind of gauge that. And if you're involved in an ongoing beef, maybe you don't want to post that. But I digress. He was live streaming his pre-gaming party, and child ended up getting kicked out the Airbnb. Okay, the Airbnb owner said, listen, we ain't said you can have no party. Y'all got to go. Kicked them out, and they said, okay, cool, whatever, we gonna leave. And what they ended up doing was saying, okay, we just gonna go ahead and go to the first club. The club that he had advertised was his official birthday party spot. It was called Club Tees, which is actually a strip club in Tampa. And so they all the whole crew, they go on over there to Tees. They party, they have a good time. I think they said that they went out to like 2 other clubs. And then at the end of the night, they had to find a place to stay because they done got kicked out the Airbnb. So they go to the hotel, Home to Suites. I believe he had actually reserved a room, but because now it's so late, they had given his rooms away. Because why wouldn't you check in first? But hey, I digress. Good morning. Thank you for joining. Is that Irie? Good morning, Miss Irie. Happy Saturday. But when you young, you don't think about stuff like that. He said I reserved it. I should be fine. He was not fine. He got there. They said there's no more rooms at the end. Okay. And so he walks out of the hotel, get back in the car. He's sitting there in front of the hotel in his car. And then there is another friend whose car is sitting out there next to him. They're just sitting there scrolling on their phones, trying to find another hotel to stay. And that's when the gunfire erupted. They tried to speed out of there, but cars was like backing into each other, like, because it was just chaos. It was unexpected. And so when they questioned on the stand the first few witnesses, it was just witnesses saying, yes, I was there that weekend for the party. I went to the different club locations and just basically telling them what happened over the course of the night. And on cross, they asked the female witnesses if they knew Alicia Andrews, and they all said no. Have you ever heard her name? They all said no. And then they asked them, do you know what these gangs are? Have you heard of these gangs before? They all had heard of the gangs before. And then they said, are you involved? Are you in the gang? And one of the ladies on the stand said, I'm a girl. And he said, what does that mean? She said, I'm a girl. I don't get involved in all of that. And that was a win, in my opinion, for the defense, because that is their defense. That she is just a girl who was on a weekend getaway with her man. She was not involved in none of this. She didn't know what was going on. In fact, their quote is, she was not in the loop because she wasn't in the group. I said, child, we probably going to hear that 50 million times through the course of this trial. but they alleged that she had no idea that her boyfriend and his gang member friends were planning to unalive Julio Foolio, Charles Jones on that weekend. Now, these are my other questions to that. Because once I saw that arsenal of weapons that I showed y'all earlier, I said, how they load up and mount up all their weapons, get into a Chevy Cruze with you, and you ain't see none of this? That's my concern. How is it that you didn't see any of this? Make sure that you guys are smashing that like button if you haven't done so already. Make sure that you like this live. Please and thank you. I appreciate you guys being here live with me. And do not forget that this will be available immediately after the live ends for replay or to watch it back. You can share it out, do all the things. And so that is what they're saying. That she and her boyfriend, they go down there, they surveil everything, they track down Charles Jones, Julio Foolio, they go to every place where he was that weekend. And they show her and her boyfriend on camera walking through the parking lot of one of the clubs where he was at. And also, I'm like, how do they kind of explain that away? I mean, sure, maybe it's a coincidence if you went to one club, but if you went to multiple clubs, I don't know if you can contend that that is just a coincidence. So I am a little bit concerned about their defense. You know, it could be true, but how green would you have to be to not know anything? You are staying in the Airbnb with all of these guys overnight. You are riding together. At the very least, she at least knew something was going to happen, even if she wasn't in on the planning of it. And she was just there with her boyfriend. Then shame on him for bringing her into such a mess. You know, gangsters not like they used to be. Because there was a time that a man would never involve his woman in such a thing. I guess that those times have passed. Because now they get you all in the middle of all of that stuff. They do not care. Too bad. You in it now. I need you to call, make this phone call. Like, that is wild to me. I need you to make the phone call. I need you to book the Airbnb. Now, she didn't actually book the Airbnb. All she did was reach out to the person that had the Airbnb. The Airbnb was not in her name because at first they were saying that she booked the Airbnb, but that's not actually true. What happened was she was friends with this person that was an Airbnb owner, and her boyfriend said, since you and her are friends, can you reach out to her and let her know that we're interested? She did that. She made the connection, and that was it. So I would hope that if one of you guys needed an Airbnb connect and I connect you, and then you go on over there to that Airbnb and unalive somebody, that they don't be like, I'm in on the conspiracy. I'm not a part of the conspiracy. I only made an introduction. Y'all got to be careful who y'all introducing people to, Chair. They could be up to no good. And now you a part of it. The conspiracy. Now you're on trial for your life. What's really sad in this case is that these people are very young. 21 years old is so young. She just had a baby in January that she is not bonding with because she's in prison. All because her boyfriend asked her, possibly, this is what's alleged, asked her to come with me as I do this evil deed. I need to use you as a camouflage because if it look like we a guy and a girl out together, it's not that suspicious. But if I'm just out with a bunch of dudes, then that looks suspicious. This is what the prosecution is alleging. I don't know any of this to be true. We haven't heard the defense's case in chief yet. This is just all what the prosecution is alleging. But I'm having a hard time staying on Alicia's side right now. I got to tell you, I'm having a hard time because she has so many things to explain away. Okay, if you're just on a weekend getaway with your man, when his buddies hopped in the car, you wasn't like, what's this? What's going on, sir? I thought you was taking me out of town for the weekend. Why is JoJo and them here? You didn't ask any questions. You just said, okay, let's go. And then when they got in the car with the heavy artillery, you didn't say, hey guys, babe, why does these guys need all of this? I thought we were going away to the beach. Like, to not ask any questions is wild, actually, right? And then if she didn't, is it just because she's young, or is it really because she's abused, as she alleges, and so she's afraid to ask any questions? It just makes it very, very difficult to say, yes, she's innocent. She had no idea what was happening, when it's just so many things to explain away. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that she's going to get away with this defense? That she is just a girl who showed up to this thing with her man, and she had no idea what was to become of the weekend. She just thought they was going to have themselves a little romantic weekend, and they was going to walk and talk on the beach. I Heart. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Who is that? Who is I Heart? Doesn't seem like it, right? It's really, really hard to wrap my mind around how this defense will serve her. I just don't see how this defense is going to serve her. It's unfortunate because you risk your whole life for a fleeting moment that has nothing to do with you. She should have stayed home, and he should have protected her. He should have kept her home, but he didn't. And here we are. But also she has to take some responsibility, because if she did any of this, she did it. So that's the Alicia Andrews case to date. They are off for the weekend. They'll be back on Monday. The other thing is, I kind of had a little giggle because I'm like, all these guys are in gangs, and they big thugs in their area, and they got one of the guys on the stand the other day. Baby, he was crying like a baby. He broke down when he saw pictures of himself on the night in question. He was shot. So I don't want to make light of that, but I'm just talking about the life that these young people choose to live, and they're not really built for that life. It's so much easier, to go to school and be a good kid and have a real job and mind your business, keep your head down and go on through life. But they all want to be rap stars, drill rap stars, where they are making fun of people's deaths, and they are going back and forth with other rival gangs. And it's all fun and games until something serious happens. And I was just like, the girls got up there, told their story. Even one of the young ladies who was shot in this attack, she got up there, just matter of factly told her story. And I'm sure there was a few tears, but not the breakdown that this guy had. He was all the pieces, child. I said, he don't belong being no thug. Real thugs get down on the floor, on the floor. He probably was down on the floor. Anyway, the point is, it is so much better that you guys can be doing with your lives, wasting it away with stuff like this. It doesn't serve you in the end, and it ain't so fun when the rabbit got the gun. Anyway, if this is a life that you live in, you stay on task. Yes, if this is a life that you are living, it's so many warning signs and flags waving at you that you could go a different direction. It is not too late for you. That's the real point that I wanted to make. I didn't stay on task, but that's okay. If you stick with me, you'll figure out that a lot of times I'm not going to stay on task. That's what's going to make me fun and different than all the other true crime podcasters that's out there. Make sure that you guys have liked this video, that you are subscribed for more updates like this one. We will go live again on next Saturday. I do have some recaps coming on the Sean Grayson trial that is going on right now. You will recall that this is the case where Sonia Massey called the police to her home because she thought she heard someone outside of her property and she was afraid. The police came and she seemed to be having maybe some type of mental break, and she had some boiling water on the stove. The police told her to turn the pot off. She go in there, and at some point she have an exchange with Officer Grayson, and she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." While she's holding this pot, he thought that meant she was about to unalive him, and so he had to use the most extreme force and unalive this lady. His trial began this week, and it is not going to be televised. There is no media in that courtroom. The judge has denied all requests from media being in that courtroom, and the media is not happy about it because nowadays we want to see, the people want to know what's really going on in that courtroom. But he said no. So there are reporters in the courtroom that are live tweeting and reporting back on what's happening in that trial. And so I will be having some recaps coming on that trial. I am still paying attention to what is happening the best that I can without cameras being in the courtroom. So continue to follow me, subscribe for more trial updates just like this one. Make sure that on your way out of here that you have liked this video. Share it to somebody that you think that would love to be here with me, that I would love to have. And I love to have all of you guys. Thank you for joining me again on another Saturday morning so that we could do trial updates. And remember, the world has never met another you. Go out and be great in it. Be paying attention so that you will know what trials we will be covering on next Saturday. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Have an amazing weekend. Bye-bye.